You laugh at Chinese propaganda. You see those ridiculous state TV segments, the forced smiles, the obvious messaging, and you think, how could anyone fall for that? But here is the uncomfortable truth. The most effective propaganda is the kind you do not recognize as propaganda. And right now, at this very moment, you are swimming in it. Not from Beijing, from your own country, your news, your feed, your reality. The difference between Chinese propaganda and Western propaganda is not that one exists and the other does not. The difference is sophistication. China's version is blunt, obvious, almost cartoonish. But the Western version, it is elegant, it is invisible, and it works far better precisely because you believe you are immune to it. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the propaganda machine that surrounds you. Not the one across the Pacific, but the one in your living room, your phone, your morning news. And by the end, you will never consume information the same way again. Let us start with what everyone agrees on. Chinese propaganda is obvious. State-run, CCTV broadcasts messages so transparently scripted that they almost feel like parody. The party leads everything, and they mean it, literally. The Chinese Communist Party controls every major media outlet, every newspaper, every broadcast channel, every social media platform within their borders. Weibo, WeChat, Douyin, all of them operate under strict censorship from the Cyberspace Administration of China. You see this and you laugh. How could a billion people fall for something so obvious? But here is the thing, they are not all falling for it. Many Chinese citizens know the game. They read between the lines. They use VPNs. They whisper truths in private while performing loyalty in public. The genius of Chinese propaganda is not that people believe it, but that people comply with it. It does not need to convince you. It needs to exhaust you, to make questioning so costly that silence becomes the rational choice. Silence becomes survival. And that exhaustion model, that strategy of making truth too expensive to pursue, is not uniquely Chinese, not anymore. But before we get there, we need to understand the other side of this coin. Now here is where most people check out, because suggesting that Western media operates any form of propaganda feels conspiratorial, unhinged. But let us look at the data. In 1983, 50 corporations controlled the majority of American media. Today, six corporations control over 90% of what Americans read, watch, and listen to. Comcast, Disney, Warner Bros. Discovery, Paramount, Fox Corporation, and Sony. 6 boardrooms deciding what stories you hear, which experts get airtime, and more importantly, which stories simply disappear. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. This is the architecture of invisible propaganda. You are given the illusion of debate, the theater of disagreement, left versus right, Fox versus CNN. But both channels operate within boundaries that never threaten the actual power structure. You get to argue about the curtains, while they redesign the entire house. Nobody tells these journalists what to write. They do not need to. The editors who hire them already share the right assumptions. The advertisers who fund them set invisible guardrails. Same owners, same rules. And that brings us to something even more disturbing. In 1928, a man named Edward Bernays wrote a book called Propaganda, not as a warning, as a manual. The conscious and intelligent manipulation of the organized habits and opinions of the masses is an important element in democratic society. Bernays was not some fringe radical. He was Sigmund Freud's nephew, and he invented the modern public relations industry. He convinced women to smoke cigarettes by calling them torches of freedom. He toppled a democratically elected government in Guatemala by planting fake news stories for the United Fruit Company. And his methods became the foundation of how governments and corporations communicate with you today. The tools he built are now running at industrial scale. Every press release you read, every carefully worded government statement, every corporate social responsibility campaign. These are Bernays' children. If this is opening your eyes to the pattern, hit like and subscribe to keep questioning everything with me, because what comes next connects all the dots. China looked at the Western playbook and simplified it, centralized it, made it blunter. But the playbook itself, perception management at scale, was invented right here in the West. And the next evolution is already underway. Here is where it gets genuinely terrifying. The old propaganda required effort. You needed to control printing presses, broadcast towers, newspaper editors. Today, you just need an algorithm. Social media platforms do not show you the world. They show you a version of the world designed to keep you scrolling. Facebook's own internal research, leaked by whistleblower Francis Horgen in 2021, showed that the algorithm deliberately amplifies outrage because angry users stay online longer. Angry users click more ads. Your attention is the product, and your emotions are the raw material. China's TikTok algorithm decides what 1 billion people find entertaining. Meta's algorithm decides what 3 billion people find true, and neither algorithm is neutral. They are designed by humans with commercial and political incentives. The Chinese government uses algorithms to suppress dissent and promote nationalism. But Western platforms use algorithms to create information bubbles that make you certain, absolutely certain, that your version of reality is the only sane one. Same goal, different wrapper. You think you are choosing what to believe, but the menu was curated long before you sat down. And the people curating that menu have agendas you will never see on your feed. After the 2016 election, something interesting happened. Instead of asking why so many people had lost trust in institutions, those institutions decided the problem was misinformation, not their credibility, your gullibility. In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. And so the fact-checking industry was born. Now, on the surface, fact-checking sounds wonderful. Who could be against checking facts? But look at who funds the major fact-checkers. The Poynter Institute, which runs the International Fact-Checking Network, receives funding from the National Endowment for Democracy, a US government-funded organization. PolitiFact is owned by Poynter. Facebook partners with these same organizations to decide what you can and cannot share. The people funding the fact-checkers have their own facts to protect. In China, the government directly tells you what is true. In the West, approved organizations tell you what is true while claiming independence. State truth vs. approved truth. The outcome is remarkably similar. A centralized authority decides the boundaries of acceptable reality. The packaging is different. The product is the same. But the machinery behind all of this goes even deeper than media. Every propaganda system serves someone. In China, it serves the party. In the West, it serves capital, money. In 2023, lobbying expenditures in Washington exceeded $4.2 billion. Pharmaceutical companies, defense contractors, tech giants, Wall Street banks, they spend more on influencing your representatives than most countries spend on their entire military. And the revolving door between government and industry spins constantly. Former Pentagon officials become defense lobbyists. Former FDA commissioners join pharmaceutical boards. Former Treasury secretaries go to Wall Street. This is not corruption in the illegal sense. It is corruption that has been legalized, normalized, and made invisible through propaganda. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. The system is not broken. It is working exactly as designed, just not for you. China is at least honest about the merger of state and corporate power. They call it socialism with Chinese characteristics. The West does the same thing, but calls it the free market. Same merger, different label. And this merger has infiltrated a space you might not expect. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Who taught you what you know about the world? Who wrote the textbooks? Who decided what history you learned and what was left out? The most powerful propaganda is the kind you absorb before you are old enough to question it. In China, the Communist Party openly controls the education curriculum. Children learn party-approved history, party-approved economics, party-approved values. And the West rightfully criticizes this. But then consider, American schoolchildren learn that Columbus discovered America. They learn about the Founding Fathers' noble ideals while skipping the parts about slavery being written into the Constitution. They learn about free markets without learning about the Gilded Age exploitation that made them possible. Every nation teaches its children a version of history that makes the nation look heroic. British children learn about the glory of the empire. Japanese textbooks minimize wartime atrocities. Russian schools glorify the Soviet victory while erasing the gulags. Every flag has its myths. The difference is not whether propaganda exists in education. It is whether you believe your education was exempt. Education is what remains after one has forgotten what one has learned in school. And if education shapes what you believe, then entertainment shapes how you feel about it. You know what the most effective propaganda machine in history is. It is not CCTV. It is not RT. It is not the BBC. Hollywood. The Department of Defense has an entertainment liaison office that has been working with filmmakers since the 1940s. In exchange for access to military equipment, bases, and personnel, studios agree to script changes. Top Gun, Transformers, Marvel movies. The Pentagon reviews scripts and requests modifications that portray the US military favorably. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. This is not classified information. It is well documented. Over 2,000 movies and television shows have received Pentagon support since 2005 alone, and the CIA has its own entertainment liaison. So does the FBI. You are watching propaganda disguised as entertainment, and you are paying for the ticket. China does the same thing with its film industry. Every movie released in China must pass censorship review. But when Hollywood censors itself to access the Chinese market, removing Taiwanese flags, avoiding Tibetan references, casting Chinese villains as North Korean instead. Two systems, one purpose. Then the line between Chinese propaganda and Western propaganda becomes vanishingly thin, and the battlefield is shifting once more. Everything I have described so far required human effort. Editors, scriptwriters, lobbyists, censors. But artificial intelligence is about to make all of that obsolete. AI can now generate news articles, social media posts, realistic images, and videos of events that never happened. Deepfakes of political leaders saying things they never said. Entire news websites staffed by nobody, publishing content designed to shape your beliefs. In 2023, researchers identified over 700 AI-generated news sites operating in multiple languages. 700. And those were just the ones they found. The era of seeing is believing is officially over. China is investing billions in AI-powered propaganda systems, but so is every Western intelligence agency. The NSA, GCHQ, the Five Eyes Alliance. They have been developing influence operation capabilities for decades. The next war will not be fought with bullets. It will be fought with algorithms and narratives. When you cannot trust what you see, what you read, or what you hear. When reality itself becomes a contested space. Then propaganda is no longer something that happens to other people in other countries. It is already here, but all is not lost. There is something you can do about it. So what do you do when every source has an agenda? When both Chinese state media and Western corporate media are playing the same game with different rules? You develop the one skill that no propaganda system wants you to have. Critical thinking, not cynicism. That is just inverted gullibility, not paranoia. That makes you easy to manipulate with fear, but genuine, disciplined, critical thinking. 1. Ask who funds the source. 2. Ask what story is not being told. 3. Read adversarial perspectives deliberately. 4. Follow the money behind every narrative. When CNN and Fox agree on something, get suspicious. When your government and your enemy's government both want the same narrative, ask why. When a story makes you feel righteous anger, pause. Because someone engineered that emotion. The goal of propaganda is not to make you believe a lie, but to make you stop seeking the truth. China's propaganda is obvious because it does not need to be subtle. It has the power to enforce compliance. Western propaganda is sophisticated because it cannot force compliance. It must manufacture consent. Different methods, same chains. But chains you can see are easier to break than chains you cannot feel. Here is the truth that nobody on either side wants you to understand. Propaganda is not a foreign problem. It is a human problem. Every power structure, democratic, authoritarian, communist, capitalist, uses narrative control to maintain itself. The question is never whether you are being propagandized. You are, right now. The question is whether you are aware enough to see it. China builds a firewall to keep information out. The West builds an algorithm to keep you inside a bubble. The walls look different. but you are still inside walls. None are more hopelessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. So the next time you laugh at Chinese propaganda, ask yourself, when was the last time you questioned your own? When was the last time you read a source that made you genuinely uncomfortable? When was the last time you followed an idea to its conclusion, even when it challenged everything you believed? If you made it this far, comment manufactured consent if you are ready to start seeing the walls. Question everything, trust nothing. Every government lies. The question is, what are they lying about?